Welcome back to the Super Show. We made it. End of 4 hours here, Trevor.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That was after Maui. It's hard to come back.
Oh, you got to bring up Maui one more time.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I
we'll hear
will,
it again
because
tomorrow. Hey, our last coach of the
Me
day.
and my beautiful bride.
And he is joining us over the telephone. We appreciate him being with us. It's Edgar Mares of Arvin. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Not too bad at all. We're just
Hey,
wrapping up here. You are coach number, I think, 15 on the day. And we have 7 or 8 more coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's So we're excited. We're ready for some football. I'm sure you guys are too. Tell us what's going on out in Arvin in preseason camp so far this year.
Well, we got about 3 starters on both sides of the ball. Probably the main kid that is coming back for us is a kid by the name of Ralphie Velasquez. He was a first-team All-League back for us last year, and I think he'll be a force on both sides of the ball this year.
He had 953 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground for you last year. He strikes me just looking at his dimensions: 5'11", 225 pounds. Kind of that tough running bowling ball, hard to bring down type kid, right?
Yeah, definitely runs north and south, and is not afraid of contact, and is not afraid to get 4 or 5 yards, and that's a success.
When you look at it too, Edgar, I mean, is this one of those seasons where you look at the SSL and, as the kind of the old man in the area, if you would, you got so many young coaches, whether they're first-year coaches at their schools or second-year coaches. I mean, do you look at the league now as something that's kind of a toss-up because of that?
No, you definitely got quality coaches that are coming in, even if they don't have the experience. And, you got good talent at every school. So, you can't look at it that way. You just got to prepare your team and get ready for each opponent.
Coach, how do you handicap the league? Obviously, you've been in it a long time. It's had its ups and downs, but this year strikes me as a pretty good one. You've got a Bakersfield Christian bringing a lot back. Taft High's bringing a lot back. They both won 8 games last year, and obviously Cesar Chavez has it rolling up there, and Kennedy coming off a couple of championship seasons.
Yeah, definitely the SSL is a tough league. All the teams that you mentioned there, I think could probably compete in the SYL. But there's not an easy game in our league, and it's just going to be you can't take a break. You got to improve each week and take it game by day.
One thing I know you guys, and we talked about Ralphie, but one of the things I think that you pride yourself on and your team prides itself on is just to play hard every week and to make sure that you're not going to be an easy out or roll over for anybody, and that I think that speaks to the quality of the kids you get too. Is that right?
Well, we've had a large number of kids, I think, the last few years that have had to return to helping their families and work. And I think we're getting back to that old Arvin attitude of, we come from hardworking families. We have to help in the summer to provide some food on the table, and then we got to go out to practice and get in the weight room and I think it's not a disadvantage. It's an advantage for us as far as the toughness goes.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Well, and that's one of the things that I think that, Zach, you and I talk about, and I know how high you are personally on the SSL. And Edgar, you probably are the same way. When you look at, even if you look at like the 2 Delano schools of Kennedy and Chavez and Shafter and Wasco and yourselves and Taft, you have all these towns and communities that really rally around the football team. And, and they're all very unique, and they all have their own kind of little, stamp on what it is that they do. But when you look at like Shafter and Wasco and Arvin, you guys really are farming community type towns where, it is about finding these tough kids that, when you get them onto the football field, do you find that those are the ones that, once they're with you, they're, that they're going to be gold no matter what?
Well, those are the type of kids that are willing to, run through a brick wall for you. And, those are the type of kids that you love to coach. And even if they don't play at the next level, that they're going to be kids that you help be successful, hopefully in their future jobs, and become, better citizens, parents, brothers and sisters, what have you not. But, one of the biggest differences is that we don't have the diversity. We just, have a farming community and we get what we get out here, and that's it. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of kids too, because we don't have the same attitude that we used to have where, 40 kids came out, we have them from day one all the way to, to the end. Now, kids think it's a little too tough, a little too hot. They're not as committed, and we've lost quite a bit of kids along the way.
Well, the ones you have left over, I guess, are the ones who want to be there. Let's talk about a few of those. I know we mentioned Velasquez, but Christian Gallardo, I know on the offensive line and also on defense as well, is a key guy for you. And another kid linebacker, David Carrillo.
Yeah, both of those kids that you just mentioned there. Let's start with David Carrillo. He's a 4.2 student, great kid, single-family home, works hard. He's probably going to get admitted to any university that he wants. And he's a yes coach, very coachable, very cerebral, and just a nice kid, man. Unbelievable. And Christian Gallardo is just another one of those type of kids that had to work over the summer, help his family out. Again, very coachable, tough kid, and not very big, a little undersized for a lineman, but he's got a motor on him, and he's not ever going to give up.
And I know there are times you may play Ralphie Velasquez at quarterback. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Ralphie's going to have to do a little bit of everything, and then hopefully that's going to open up, for other guys that we have on the team that we think that can make some noise as well.
Yeah, and I know one of those guys is Chris Torres, who's kind of the lightning to Ralphie's thunder, if you will.
Yeah, Chris has had a very good offseason in the weight room, and we're excited about his speed and what he can contribute to the team. And then we have another kid by the name of Jarick Brown from the JV team coming up who's just as fast, and hopefully will add that lightning to the thunder that you're talking about.
Yeah, and then on defense, Fabian Juarez on the defensive line, and the other guy I have listed here, Gabriel Zapata, who's probably your best receiver.
Yeah, Fabian is just, again, one of those kids that have to work all summer, help his family out. Probably worked the majority of the time in the grapes in Delano, and would come late to practice, but he would come and give it everything he had, and is going to be another tough-nosed kid. And then Gabriel's probably our most athletic kid. He's about 6'4". He's not very heavy, but he's quick, and he's got good hands, and we're hoping that he comes into form his senior year.
Well, Edgar, what is it? I mean, you've been there, over a decade now at Arvin. What do you need to do as an educator and a football coach to, give these young student athletes a chance to, participate in extracurricular sports like football? Is it a matter of going into the homes of these parents, or are your hands kind of tied and you just hope that they find their way to you?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I probably made about 5 home visits on kids that we were going to lose, either because of the parents didn't want them to play or they themselves were just falling out of line. And of those 5, I was able to save about 3 of them. Mm-hmm. 2 of them were not salvageable, either because of grades or attitudes. But it's just one of those things where, I don't know, we just got to figure out, get them involved a little earlier, get them to understand that it's a commitment and that it takes a lot, to improve each year, and they just got to stick with it.
Do you also take a lot of pride in when you can get those kids back and they succeed and they graduate and they do everything that they're supposed to do? Do you think that you get, as a coach at a school like Arvin, do you walk away with, you think, more pride than, you normally would at, say, a Stockdale or a Golden Valley or a Highland?
Well, when you're a competitive coach, you love to win, and it drives me crazy to lose, and I hate it. But when I see some of these young men down the road and some of the things that they're doing, it gives me a lot of pride, and it makes me feel like, we are making a difference, even though it may not show on Friday night with the W column.
Well, that just about says it all right there. I mean, I think it's fair to say you have one of the tougher football jobs in Kern County, and Edgar, we think you do a great job with it, and always have competitive teams out there. So we thank you for joining us, and wish you the best of luck in 2016, okay?
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, Edgar. Appreciate
Edgar.
it, man.
That's Edgar Mares of Arvin. We just got a few minutes to wrap up here as we And in 4 hours, day one of the BVarsity Coaches Show. What were your impressions, Trevor, as we look back on 4 hours?
I think it's the same thing over and over again. You've got a lot of football coaches that are very committed to their programs. And once again, there's a lot of talent in town, and there's a lot of parity, too, especially when you look at the SWIL. I think that's the biggest thing that we were looking at, where, you look at Ridgeview. I think they got a stranglehold on the SYL. SEYL, it's south for the last few years. Liberty really has kind of had an SWL the last 2 years, but when you lose a Quincy Jounty and a Matt Hubble and obviously a Jordan Love and 4 of your 5 starting linemen, it brings a little parity to the Power League. And with Garces coming up, I really liked what AJ Gass had to say. I think Gola obviously has a lot of excitement, and Gola doesn't, he's not one of those guys who's going to boast if there's not something to boast about, and he's boasting about this team. So
yeah,
it'll be unique.
We heard the 3 big coaches today, or the coaches of the three kind of powers in Bakersfield at this time, and that's Paul Gola of Bakersfield, Brian Nixon Liberty, and Dennis Manning of Ridgeview. We also heard from much of the SEYL and a couple of SYL coaches as well, and SSL coaches. To me, I'm just trying to think back on the day, and I don't remember. I said this earlier. I don't remember hearing a lot of, this is going to be a rebuilding year, or we're building for the future, or any of that type of stuff. Even
a lot
the
of
coaches
optimism.
who are going to play a lot of young guys say they're good young guys, and that part is it's August 17th, and that's what happens on August 17th. If you're not optimistic on August 17th, you're in trouble. But I do think a lot of that is genuine, and obviously some of it's not going to work out.
All 3 of those guys do legitimately have Division I type athletes as sophomores, with Cam Williams at BHS, you have Sammy Stewart at Liberty, and Keontae Clinton at Ridgeview. I mean, those are 3 legitimate guys that have Division I type talent.
I think add in Daniel Faveros at Liberty as well, with a guy.
Oh yeah, obviously
whether it be in track,
he's an
or
age group national champion in the discus. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good young talent in town right now. Isaiah Hill, whether or not that he kind of finds his way onto the football field as a sophomore, obviously he's a great talent on the basketball field at Liberty, or a basketball court. That's twice today I've done that. I'll be out of volleyball tonight.
You will be out of volleyball tonight?
Centennial at Ridgeview at 6:15. So that'll be our first prep sports coverage of the season. So that'll be fun.
Real quick before we go, tomorrow we start back up at 2 o'clock here on Bakersfield.com. We will have Rich Cornford of Frontier to start things out. We talked to Taft's George Falgood. He had a great first year. Chad Brown at Centennial, Darren Carr at Bakersfield Christian. Some of those second-year guys. And in the second hour, we have Brett Shelton, Stockdale, Norm Brown of North, the legend, Steve Denman of Tehachapi, and then a new coach to wrap things up, Derek Dunham at West. So every 15 minutes, that's the schedule tomorrow. That's it for us today. That wraps up 4 hours of coaches' interviews. Nobody does it quite like BVarsity Live, everybody. And we will bring you more tomorrow starting at 2 o'clock here on Bakersfield.com. For Trevor Horn, for our producers, John Farron and Chris McCullough, I'm Zach Ewing. Thanks for being with us, everybody.
Looking deep down the left side, Mendeville into the end zone.